Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Westward Ho, written by Thomas Dekker and John Webster for the children of Paul's around about 1604. We have read most of the first two acts, and we found an awful lot to get our teeth into. A certain slipperiness as to certain little minor... It's not so much about the plot, it's more about motivations and why certain things are happening. There are some sort of slippery, flanging edges and lots of questions, but not necessarily all the answers, which is very enjoyable to play with and hopefully will give us more to dig into. We've got a lot of text to get through today, so I will crack on. Reading today, Hands and Wafer is...
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Gosling, Monopoly and Lucy is...
Lois in London.
Reading Whirlpool, Birdlime and an Earl is...
Sarah in Germany.
Reading Judith, Ambush and Second Servant is...
Lynn in the Northwest United States.
Reading Mabel, Tenterhook, Christian and First Servant is...
Aliki in Greece.
Reading Moll, Boy, Honeysuckle and Third Servant is...
Carolyn in Bristol.
And reading Linstock and Justiniano is...
Simon in Dublin, hiya.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and moving us forward with reasonable amounts of speed. Act 2, Scene 3 is where we begin. We have the entrance of various characters we've not met before, as well as some we have. Enter Sir Gosling, Linstock, Whirlpool, and the three citizens' wives, who are all masked for a good night out on the town. That's not from the stage direction, that's just me explicating. They are Judith, Mabel, and Moll.
So, draw those curtains and let's see the pictures under them.
Welcome to the Steelyard Fair, ladies.
Thanks, good Master
Thank you,
Linstock.
good Master Linstock.
Hans, some wine, Hans.
Enter Hans with cloth and buns.
Yeah, you shall have it, mister. Old vein or new vein?
Speak, women.
New wine, good Sir Gosling. Wine in the must, good Dutchman, for must is best for us women.
New vine, Bill. 2 pots of new vine.
Exit Hans.
An honest butterbox, for if it be old, there's none of it comes into my belly.
Why, Tenterhook, pray thee, let's dance friskin and be merry.
Thou art so troubled with monopolies. They so hang at thy heartstrings.
Pox my heart, then.
Enter Hans with wine.
I and mine too. If any courtier of them all set up his gallows there, wench, use him as thou dost thy pantaloons. Scorn to let him kiss thy heel, for he feeds thee with nothing but court holy bread, good words, and cares not for thee. Sir Gosling, will you taste a Dutch, what you call him?
Here, Master Linstock, half mine is yours. Bun, 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 bun.
Enter Justiniano, who may speak occasionally to himself as he's also reading Linstock, but Justiniano is disguised as Parenthesis.
Which room? Where are they? Whoa, so ho, boys.
What, who's that? Lock our room.
Not till I am in, and then lock out the devil, though he come in the shape of a Puritan.
Schoolmaster, welcome. Welcome in truth.
All the ladies say.
Oh, Master, welcome.
No. Who would not be scratched with the briars and brambles to have such burrs sticking on his breeches? Save you, gentlemen, noble knight.
More wine, Hans.
Not I, gentlemen, a ferret of the right hair that can make 3 conies halt to clap to your pursnets. Little do their 3 husbands dream what copies I am setting their wives now, were it not a rare jest if they should come sneaking upon us like a horrible noise of fiddlers.
Troth, I care not. Let 'em come. I tell 'em we had none of their dull music.
Here, Mr. Tenterhook.
Thanks, good Mistress Wafer.
What's there? Peepers, intelligencers, eavesdroppers.
That's for throw a pot.
Head.
Head.
Lord Gentlemen, knight ladies that may be, citizens' wives that are, shift for yourselves, for a pair of your husbands' heads are knocking together with handses and inquiring for you.
Keep the door
Keep the
locked.
door locked.
Door locked? I do. And let Sir Gosling, because he has been in the Low Countries, swear Gott sacrament and drive them away with broken Dutch.
Here's a wench of simple sparks in her. She's my pupil, gallants. Good God, I see a man is not sure that his wife is in the chamber, though his own fingers hung on the padlock. Trapdoors, false drabs, and spring locks may cousin a covey of constables. How the silly husbands might have been gulled with Flemish money. Come, drink up Rhine, Thames, and meander dry. There's nobody.
Thou ungodly master.
I did but make a false fire to try your valour, because you cried, let them come. By this glass of woman's wine, I would not have seen their spirits walk here to be dubbed deputy of a ward. Aye, they would have chronicled me for a fox in a lamb's skin. But come, is this merry midsummer night agreed upon? When shall it be? Where shall it be? Why, faith, tomorrow at night.
We'll take a coach and ride to Ham or so.
Oh, fie upon it, a coach. I cannot abide to be jolted.
Yet most of your citizens' wives love jolting.
What say you to Blackwall or Limehouse?
Every room there smells too much of tar.
Let's to mine host Dogbolts at Brainford then. There you are out of eyes, out of ears, private rooms, sweet linen, winking attendants, and what cheer you will.
Content to Brainford.
Hi, let's go by water. For Sir Gosling, I have heard it said you love to go by water.
But wenches, with what pulleys shall we slide with some cleanly excuse out of our husband's suspicion, being gone westward for smelts all night?
That's the block now we all stumble at. Wind up that string well, wind up that string well, and all the consorts in tune.
Why then, a good man's scraper, 'tis wound up. I have it. Cyril Wafer, thy child's at nurse. If you that are the men could provide some wise ass that could keep his countenance.
Nay, if he be an ass, he will keep his countenance.
But I mean one that could set out his ale with audacity and say that the child were sick and ne'er stagger at it. That last could serve all our feet.
But where will that wise ass be found now?
I see, I'm born still to draw dun out of the mire for you. That wise beast will be I. I'll be that ass that shall groan under the burden of that abominable lie. Heaven pardon me, and pray God the infant be not punished for it. Let me see. I'll break out in some filthy shape like a thrasher or a thatcher or a sowgelder or something, and speak dreamingly and swear how the child pukes and eats nothing, as perhaps it does not, and lies at the mercy of God, as all children and old folks do. And then, Scholar Wafer, play you your part.
Fear not me for a penny or two.
Where will you meet in the morning?
At some tavern near the waterside that's private.
The Greyhound in Blackfriars, an excellent rendezvous. Consent the Greyhound by 8, and then you may whip forth 2 first and 2 next on a sudden, and take boat at Bridewell Dock most privately.
Be it so, a good place.
I'll go make ready my rustical properties. Let me see. Scholar, hie you home, for your child shall be sick within this half hour.
Exit Justiniano. Enter Birdlime.
Is the uprightest dealing man. God's my pity, who's yonder?
I'm bound to press myself under the colours of your company, hearing that gentlewoman was in the room. A word, mistress.
How now? What says he?
What's she? Abhorred by the Lord, is not?
Oh, indeed, Sir Gosling, she's a very honest woman, and a midwife.
At the Lion and Shoreditch. And would he not read it, nor not write to me? I'll poison his supper.
but no words that I berate him.
Gentlemen, I must be gone. I cannot stay in faith. Pardon me, I'll meet tomorrow. Come, nurse, I cannot tarry by this element.
Ah, mother, you grandam, a drink ere you go.
I'm going to a woman's labour, indeed, sir. I cannot stay.
Exeunt Mistress Tenterhook and Birdlime.
I hold my life. The blackbird, her husband, whistles for her.
A reckoning. Break one, break all.
Here, Hans, draw not, I'll draw for all, as I'm true knight.
Let him. Amongst women, this does stand for law. The worthiest man, though he be a fool, must draw.
And they exit end of Act 2, and we finally get some connection with the title of the play, because they're all talking about going westward by the water, and that cry of Westward Ho by the Riverman is finally, there's some slight connection with the title. That pleases me. So we've got the beginnings of a great night out being gathered here, and the excuses being given and being plotted so that they can all go out there. Justiniano can't help just shaking the room up a bit by going, "Hang on, is that your husband's outside?"
Just kidding.
It's fine. Thoughts on the room as we're sort of getting back into the zone and getting a feeling for it all. We've got some new characters here. We've got some ones we've met before, but we may not have fully in our mind. As ever, Justiniano is sort of moment that come on. They're doing a lot of monologuing, taking a lot of control over what's going on. Thoughts? Who's got thoughts? Someone has thoughts, I'm sure. Lois.
Well, I think Justiniano is really sort of the trickster type character that we see, particularly in Chapman, I think. I mean, he's got all sorts of funny motives, but he also just seems to enjoy, as you say, shaking things up. I mean, there's no real reason to do that. You know, he hears them saying, "Oh, gee, we're not afraid of our husbands." So he promptly says, "I think I hear your husband," and watches the ensuing panic.
Lynn.
That's definitely what's going on today. I mean, I do think Justiniano is having fun with it, and I think that Simon's read on it was awesome, was really spot on. But I think you're going to, as an actor, need to really think about how this Justiniano and the Justiniano in his first appearance, where he's so hard on his wife, he's such a jerk. Like, how do you create a performance that doesn't show seams there? Like, how do you make that look like the same guy? He doesn't feel like the same guy that was being a shitty husband yesterday, as I remember.
Simon and then Aliki.
First of all, thank you very much, Lynn. That was very nice of you. Not having been able to catch up with yesterday's and coming new to this, and again, Westward Ho's unfamiliar to me, but it strikes me that Justiniano is kind of like that frat boy idiot that everyone hates, the class clown by the look of it. So it's interesting what you just said about the stuff that you guys did yesterday, where you see a complete difference. So is there a slight, I'm not going to name him, but is there a slight
are you? Who are you going to name?
Well, I'm going to mention a character.
No, you're not. Move on.
Can't even mention a character.
Move on. Find another
How
analogy.
shrewish of you. I think you all know what I'm saying.
A taming of a shrew, you mean?
Of a shrew. There's
a character in that who may have a different name than the one you're thinking of, but I think we know where we are with you. Yes, okay. Analogy accepted. Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's any necessary distinction between his being horrible to his wife and his being cruelly, playfully horrible to these other women, and being so generally.
It's whether it's funny. I mean, this is the thing: is if he's too harsh, then how do you maintain a comedic flow? Perhaps, Lynn.
Yeah, because the way this scene came off in isolation, it was kind of delightful. But if you think of Justiniano as basically kind of sadistic, kind of just doing this because he wants to entrap people and make them live down to their worst selves, that makes it a lot less fun. And do you want to do that as a director?
I'll go to Simon, Aliki, then Sarah, then we're going to move on.
Thank you. No, it's funny. It's funny you said that because obviously Birdlime. I don't know if you guys discussed this yesterday, but of course traps. So I'm assuming it's all one big kind of metaphor for trapping people and essentially maybe our cruelty towards human. I don't know where we're going to go, but man's inhumanity to man is popping up in my head at the moment. So maybe that's where it's going. But yeah, just the first thing I saw was Birdlime, and funny enough, I was just researching that the other day. So I'm assuming he's the personification of that.
Aliki, then Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to say, funnily enough, about Birdlime as well. Birdlime is also leading women from the path of virtue. She seems to be doing it for a living, whereas Justiniano, as far as I can tell, is getting no profit out of it except his own amusement.
Yes, he's basically divested himself to a degree of his own actual income anyway. There's whole questions about how poor or not is Justiniano. Sarah.
Yeah, we did have that line from him yesterday, where he was saying, oh, well, yeah, maybe if everybody's wife is doing this, then maybe mine's not so bad after all. So it could be because he did start off with a huge degree of malice yesterday, and the malice is still there today, but it's more playful. I'm wondering if he's just lightening up a bit, because that line did sort of indicate that maybe he was maybe not minding her perceived infidelity, even though she hasn't actually been unfaithful to him, but he wasn't quite as jealous maybe as he had been at the very beginning of the play. So maybe he's lightening up.
We shall see. We'll run some scenes into each other. We'll see how far we get before I stop. Act 3, we're into Act 3. Act 3, Scene 1. And as it's a boys' company play, there may literally be an act break between so we're just a little bit of music. Relax. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Master Tenterhook and his wife, labelled as Moll at present.
What book is that, sweetheart?
Why, the book of bonds that are due to you.
Come, what do you with it? Why do you trouble yourself to take care about my business?
Why, sir, does not that which concerned you concern me? You told me Monopoly had discharged his bond. I find by the book of accounts here that it is not cancelled. Ere I would suffer such a cheating companion to laugh at me, I'd see him hanged. Good sweetheart, as ever you loved me, as ever my bed were pleasing to you, arrest the knave. We were never beholding to him for a pin, just for eating up our victuals. Good mouse, enter an action against him.
In troth, love, I may do the gentleman much discredit, and besides, it may be other actions may fall very heavy upon him.
Hang him, to see the dishonesty of the knave.
Oh, wife, good words, a gentleman, a courtier.
Why may not a gentleman be a knave? That were strange in faith, but as I was saying, to see the dishonesty of him that would never come since he received the money, to visit us, you know. Master Tenterhook, he hath hung long upon you. Master Tenterhook, as I am virtuous, you shall arrest him.
What? I know not when he will come to town.
He's in town this night. He sups the Lion in Shoreditch. Good husband, enter your action, and make haste to the Lion presently. There's an honest fellow. Sergeant Ambush will do it in a trice. He never salutes a man in courtesy, but that he catches him as if he would arrest him. Good heart, let Sergeant Ambush lie in wait for him.
Well, by entreaty, I will do it. Give me my cloak there. Buy a link and meet me at the counter in Wood Street. Trust me, Moll?
Why, now you love me, I'll go to bed, sweetheart.
Do not sleep till I come, Moll.
No, lamb.
Exit Tenterhook.
Bah, sheep. If a woman will be free in this intricate labyrinth of a husband, let her marry a man of melancholy complexion. She shall not be much troubled with him. By my sooth, my husband hath a hand as dry as his brains, and a breath as strong as 6 common gardens. Well, my husband is gone to arrest Monopoly. I have dealt with the sergeant privately to entreat him, pretending that he is my aunt's son. By this means shall I see my young gallant, that in this has played his part. When they owe money in the city once, they deal with their lawyers by attorney. Follow the court through the court. Follow the court, though the court do them not the grace to allow them their diet. Oh, the wit of a woman when she is put to the pinch.
Exit Moll. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Master Tenterhook again, with Sergeant Ambush, the aforementioned, and Yeoman Clutch.
Come, Sergeant Ambush, come. Yeoman Clutch, yon's the tavern. The gentleman will come out presently. Thou art resolute?
Who I carry fire and sword that fight for me here and here. I know most of the knaves in London and most of the thieves too, I thank God and good intelligence.
I wonder thou dost not turn broker, then.
I have been a broker already, for I was first a Puritan, then a bankrout, then a broker, then a fencer, then sergeant. Were not these ladies would make a man honest? Peace, the door opes. Wheel about, yeoman clutch.
Enter Whirlpool, Linstock, and Monopoly unbraced.
And ere I come to sup in this tavern again, there's no more attendance than in a jail. And there'd been a punk or two in the company, then we should not have been rid of the drawers. Now, were I in an excellent humor to go to a vaulting house, I would break down all their glass windows, hew in pieces all their joint stools, tear their silk petticoats, ruffle their periwigs, and spoil their painting. The gods, what I could do! I could undergo 15 bawds by this darkness, or I could meet one of those varlets that wear panierali on their backs, sergeants. I would make them scud so fast from me that they should think it a shorter way between this and Ludgate than a condemned cutpurse thinks it between Newgate and Tyburn.
You are for no action tonight.
Whirlpool, I think, is Sarah. I think. Am I wrong?
Yeah, did you not hear my line? No?
I didn't, no.
Oh, okay. No, oh, too bad.
Am not I drunk now? Implenter veteris baccae pinguisque tobacco.
Faith, we are all heated.
Captain Whirlpool, when wilt come to court and dine with me?
One of these days, Frank. But I'll get me 2 gauntlets for fear I lose my fingers in the dishes. There be excellent shavers, I hear, in the most of your under-officers. I protest, I often come hither, sat down, draw my knife, and ere I could say grace, all the meat hath been gone. I have risen and departed thence, as hungry as ever came country attorney from Westminster. Do not swagger with the watch, Frank.
Exeunt Whirlpool and Linstock.
So, now they are gone, you may take him.
Sir, I arrest you.
Arrest me? At whose suit, you varlets?
At Master Tenterhook's.
Why, you varlets, dare you arrest one of the court?
Will you be quiet, sir?
Prithee, good yeoman, call the gentleman back again. There's a gentleman hath carried £100 of mine home with him to his lodging, because I dare not carry it over the fields. I'll discharge it presently.
That's a trick, sir. You would procure a rescue.
Catchpole, you see, I will have the hair of your head and beard shaved off for this, and ere I catch you at Gray's Inn by this light,
Come, will you march?
Are your sergeants Christians? Sirrah, looks like a good pitiful rascal, and thou art a tall man too, it seems. Thou hast backed many a man in thy time, I warrant.
I have had many a man by the back, sir.
Well said, in truth. I love your quality. Alas, 'tis needful every man should come by his own. But as God mend me, gentlemen, I have not one cross about me, only you two. Might not you let a gentleman pass out of your hands and say you saw him not? Is there not such a kind of mercy in you now and then, my masters? As I live, if you come to my lodging tomorrow morning, I'll give you 5 brace of angels. Good yeoman, persuade your graduate here. I know some of you to be honest, faithful drunkards. Respect a poor gentleman in my case.
Come, it will not serve your turn. Officers, look to him upon your barrel.
Do you hear, sir? You see, I'm in the hands of a couple of ravens here. As you are a gentleman, lend me 40 shillings. Let me not live if I do not pay you the forfeiture of the whole bond and never plead conscience.
Not a penny, not a penny. Good night, sir.
Exit Tenterhook.
Well, a man ought not to swear by anything in the hands of sergeants, but by silver. And because my pocket is no lawful justice to minister any such oath unto me, I will patiently encounter the counter. Which is the dearest ward in prison, Sergeant? The knight's ward?
No, sir, the master's side.
Well, the knight is above the master, though his table be worse furnished. I'll go thither.
Come, sir, I must use you kindly. The gentleman's wife that hath arrested you.
Aye, what of her?
Says you are her aunt's son.
I am.
She takes on so pitifully for your arresting, 'twas much against her will, good gentlewoman, that this affliction alighted upon you.
She hath reason if she respect her poor kindred.
You shall not go to prison.
Honest sergeant, conscienceable officer, did I forget myself even now? A vice that sticks to me always when I'm drunk, to abuse my best friends. Where didst buy this buff? Let me not live, but I'll give thee a good suit of durance. Wilt thou take my bond, sergeant? Where's a scrivener? A scrivener, good yeoman. You shall have my sword and hangers to pay him.
Not so, sir, but you shall be prisoner in my house. I do not think but that your cousin will visit you there in the morning and take order for you.
Well said. Was not a most treacherous part to arrest a man in the night, and when he's almost drunk, when he hath not his wits about him to remember which of his friends is in the subsidy? Come, did I abuse you? I recant. You are as necessary in a city as tumblers in Norfolk, summers in Lancashire, or rakehells in an army.
And they exit. So we get a nice little sort of those two scenes throwing together a whole series of intentions and backs and forths. Tenterhook's relationship with Moll, Moll's plans, sheep. Just which says everything about their relationship, isn't it? I kind of feel a bit sorry for Tenterhook actually. Because he kiss me goodbye, wife. I'll go and do the thing you've just insisted I've got to do. And then, of course, what we get is this. And it's interesting. There's a really nice class distinction thing going on here as well, because it's this thing of Tenterhook. Well, but he's a gentleman. Of course, he'll pay me back eventually. And he's going, look how much of he's calling his debts, and you get a similar issue going on with the whole exchange with Ambush as well. And it's like, well, I've got to arrest you. Actually, come over to my house. It'll be fine. And so, I mean, that's partly also because of the nature of the suit as well. But there is an interesting play of class across this text, which is nice because, of course, most of the central characters are what we might call somewhere more in the middling sort than they are in the upper, but they're orbiting the lives of the gentry, as well as those who are slightly further down the social scale. So there's a lot more play and give in a text like this, which makes it a lot more interesting, I think, for us. Whereas, when it's just a lot of kings and then there's some comedy character down below, you sort of go, more. Thoughts from the room before we go on, Lynn?
Yeah, the indebted gentleman is certainly an enduring character type. I mean, 300 years later, you have Algernon with nothing but his debts to rely on. It's the same guy. It's the same guy.
And he's totally unworried about the whole thing. Oh, debtor's prison. Oh, that's fine. That's
the nicest debtor's prison.
What's the best side? Well, what's the best room available? Bless. Aliki, then Carolyn.
Well, that plot is shaping up quite nicely. Moll and he are having a thing, or, well, we don't know if it's a consummated thing, but definitely she's into him. He said he's into her. Then he was getting bored of her and wants somebody new. So she has his debt canceled so he can be sent to jail and she can rescue him so that he will be grateful to her. all of which kind of the only hint we've had in this session up until it happening is that Birdlime brings her a letter. So she must know Birdlime as well. She's got some kind of arrangement with Birdlime. Say, he's over there. You know how you haven't seen him in a while? I know exactly where he is. That's really fun, and it gives Moll a nice continuity. We've got the other character who is potentially also called Moll, if I remember correctly, who is the merchant's wife that we met in the first scene. She's got quite a nice story weaving in. I wonder if Judith and what's the other one? Mabel are going to turn up to have such interesting lives too.
It's an interesting question. I mean, there's also this detail that they are cousins. Monopoly and Moll are cousins.
I think she's lying when she says
I think that's a lie. Yeah,
we know that's a lie.
Yeah,
he's the nephew of the Earl, right? Who is trying to seduce the other woman.
Yeah, so I don't think they're really.
So can he also be her cousin? That's getting a bit thick.
Well, you know, everyone seems to be related to everybody else, so there's and they can't all be lying. Well, they could all be lying, frankly, with this play. Anyway, Carolyn.
Well, I just couldn't resist because we're actually getting into sort of the subject of my PhD work, which was family businesses and economic interaction during this period. So I did actually want to mention that I think it was actually a bit unusual it certainly would have been unusual for them to go after somebody for debt. Do we know in the play previously what he's in debt to him for? Has that actually been brought up?
I don't know whether we were too specific, just that there were monies and there were amounts. I don't know if that was that debt or that was somebody else's debt. I forget. Alan.
Well, I was just going to say, if it was a tradesman's debt, then the tradesman has it is to the advantage of the tradesman to keep the gentleman who is doing business with him in his debt. So it would actually be economically disadvantageous to him to go after that money.
Which is why
he
he argues with Moll not to do it.
So that's
potentially, yeah.
Alan.
Yeah, I got the impression that it was the usual young man about town living well beyond his means and money lending rather than it being a trade debt per se.
Do we know what Tenterhook's trade is?
Unspecified, I think.
Lynn.
Money.
I think he's a cloth merchant of some kind, because a tenterhook is actually, that's a technical term from weaving. Those are the hooks that hold the fabric taut when it's being finished.
Because in that case, that would be trade rather than money. And that's what he's wearing.
But if he's a successful tradesman, it's just like, oh, can you give me a friendly loan? We're kind of acquaintances, so that could still happen, I would think.
I mean, that's the thing. This play is full of all these details that we need to figure out. You know, a production needs to figure out, because actually, otherwise, a lot of this potentially becomes a little incomprehensible. Even if we understand the shape of the plot, we don't necessarily know the detail, and that detail is quite important. Lois.
Sometimes in these citizen comedies, I know in The Roaring Girl, the wife who has a gallant is in fact stealing money from her husband to give this guy. And it's possible that we've got a kind of double con here, with Moll actually stealing money from Tenterhook to give her the guy she would like to have as a lover, and then somehow working it so that it looks like a debt to her husband that she can then have him arrested for. I don't know. I mean, given the general sort of context of these plays, the assumption that the citizen's wife have access to a lot of money, whereas the courtiers are generally broke but have prestige and glamour to recommend them, that might be what's going on.
Anyway, we need to move on. Hold on to any thoughts. See if we can squeeze them in later. We'll complete the act for the next couple of scenes, unless I need to pause because they're really interesting. Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Justiniano, now disguised like a collier. And there's also a boy. Have I given... Yes, I have given out the boy. Good.
By any small call, by any small call.
Collier.
What sayest, boy?
Wear the pillory.
Oh, boy, the pillory assures many a man that he is no cuckold, for how impossible were it a man should thrust his head through so small a loophole, if his forehead were branched, boy.
Collier, how came the goose to be put upon you, huh?
I'll tell thee, the term lying at Winchester in Henry III's days, and many French women coming out of the Isle of Wight thither, as it hath always been seen, though the Isle of Wight could not a long time neither endure foxes nor liars, yet it could brook the more dreadful coquetries. There were many punks in the town, as you know our term is their term. Your farmer that would spend but threepence on his ordinary would lavish half a crown on his lechery, and many men, calves as they were, would ride in a farmer's foul boots before breakfast. The commonest sinner had more fluttering about her than a fresh punk hath when she comes to a town or garrison or to a university. Captains, scholars, serving men, jurors, clerks, townsmen, and the blackguard used all to one ordinary, and most of them were called to a pitiful reckoning. For before 2 returns of Michaelmas, surgeons were full of business. The care of most secrecy grew as common as lice in Ireland, or as scabs in France. One of my tribe, a collier, carried in his cart 40 maimed soldiers to Salisbury, looking as pitifully as Dutchmen first made drunk, then carried to beheading. Every one that met him cried, "Where the goose, collier?" And from that day to this, there's a record to be seen at Croydon, how that pitiful wastage, which indeed was virtue in the collier, that all the time would carry no coals, laid this imputation on all the posterity.
You are full of tricks, collier.
Boy, where dwells Master Wafer?
Why, here, what wouldst? I am one of his juveniles.
Hath he not a child at nurse at Morclack?
Yes, dost thou dwell there?
That I do. The child is wondrous sick. I was wild to acquaint me master and mistress with it.
I'll up and tell them presently.
Exit boy.
So, if all should fail me, I could turn collier. The villainy of this age, how full of secrecy and silence, contrary to the opinion of the world, have I ever found most women. I have sat a whole afternoon many times by my wife and looked upon her eyes and felt as if her pulses have beat when I have named a suspected love. Yet all this while I have not drawn from her the least scruple of confession. I have lain awake 1,000 nights, thinking she would have revealed somewhat in her dreams, and when she has begun to speak anything in her sleep, I have jogged her and cried, "Aye, sweetheart, but when will your love come? Or what did he say to thee over the stall? Or what did he do to thee in the garden chamber? Or when will he send to thee any letters? Or when wilt thou send him to any money?" What an idle coxcomb jealousy will make of a man.
Enter Wafer and his wife Mabel with the boy.
Well, this is my comfort, that here comes a creature of the same headpiece.
Oh, my sweet child. Where's the collier?
Here, forsooth.
Run into Bucklesbury for 2 ounces of dragon water, some spermaceti, and treacle. What is it sick of, collier? A burning fever?
Faith, mistress, do not know the infirmity of it. Will ye buy any small coal, say ye?
Will you go in and empty them? Come, be not so impatient.
Aye, if you had grown for it as I have done, you would have been more natural. Take my riding hat and my kirtle there. I'll away presently.
You will not go tonight, I'm sure.
As I live, but I will.
Faith, sweetheart, I have great business tonight. Stay till tomorrow and I'll go with you.
No, sir, I will not hinder your business. I see how little you respect the fruits of your own body. I shall find somebody to bear me company.
Well, I will defer my business for once and go with thee.
It is like you shall not. You shall not hit me in the teeth that I was your hindrance. Will you to Bucklesbury, sir?
Exit boy.
Come, you're a fool. Leave your weeping.
You shall not go with me as I live.
Exit Wafer.
Beautiful!
Excellent, master.
Admirable, mistress! How happy be our English women that are not troubled with jealous husbands. Why, your Italians in general are so sunburnt with these dog days that your great lady there thinks her husband loves her not if he be not jealous. What confirms the liberty of our women more in England than the Italian proverb, which says if there were a bridge over the narrow seas, all the women in Italy would show their husbands 1,000,000 of light pair of heels and fly over to England?
The time of our meeting? Come.
7.
The place?
In Blackfriars, there take water, keep aloof from the shore. On with your masks, up with your sails, and Westward Ho!
So,
And finally, they've managed to get the actual title of the play in full. Exit Mabel.
Oh, the quick apprehension of women. They'll grope out a man's meaning presently. Well, it rests now that I discover myself in my true shape to these gentlewomen's husbands, for though I have played the fool a little to beguile the memory of mine own misfortune, I would not play the knave, though I be taken for a bankrupt. But indeed, as in other things, so in that the world is much deceived in me, for I have yet £3,000 in the hands of a sufficient friend, and all my debts discharged. I have received here a letter from my wife directed to Stode, wherein she most repentantly entreateth my return, with protestation to give more assured trial of her honesty. I cannot tell what to think of it, but I will put it to the test. There is a great strife between beauty and chastity, and that which pleaseth many is never free from temptation. As for jealousy, it makes many cuckolds, many fools, and many bankrupts. It may have abused me and not my wife's honesty. I'll try it, but first to my secure and doting companion.
And exit Justiniano. We'll go straight into Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Monopoly and Mistress Tenterhook Moll.
I beseech you, Mistress Tenterhook, before God, I'll be sick if you will not be merry.
You are a sweet beagle.
Come, because I kept from town a little, let me not live if I did not hear the sickness was very hot. In troth, my hair is of an excellent color since I saw it, those bright tresses like to threads of gold.
Lye and ashes suffer much in the city for that comparison.
Here's an honest gentleman will be here by and by. I was born at Fulham. His name is Gosling Glowworm.
I know him. What is he?
He is a knight. What ailed your husband to be so hasty to arrest me?
Shall I speak truly? Shall I speak not like a woman?
Why not like a woman?
Because women's tongues are like to clocks. If they go too fast, they never go true. 'Twas I that got my husband to arrest thee, I have.
I'm beholding to you.
Forsooth, I could not come to the speech of you. I think you may have spoken with all now.
I thank you. I hope you'll bail me, cousin.
And yet, why should I speak with you? I protest I love my husband.
Gosh, let not any young woman love a man in years too well.
Why?
Because he'll die before he can requite it.
I have acquainted Wafer and Honeysuckle with it, and they allow my wit for the extremely.
And enter Ambush.
Oh, sorry. Oh, honest sergeant.
Welcome, good Mistress Tenterhook.
Sergeant, I must needs have my cousin go a little way out of town with me, and to secure thee, here are 2 diamonds. They are worth £200. Keep them until I return him.
Well, 'tis good security.
Do not come in my husband's sight in the meantime.
Enter Whirlpool, Glowworm, Gosling, Linstock, Mistress Honeysuckle, Judith, and Mistress Wafer, Mabel, and Monopoly and Gosling may talk vaguely at the same time as each other.
Welcome, gallants.
How now, Monopoly? Arrested?
Oh, my little Honeysuckle, art come to visit a prisoner.
Yes, as gentlemen visit merchants to fare well, or as poets young quaint revellers to laugh at them. Sirrah, if I were some foolish justice, I would not beg thy wit, never trust me.
Why, I pray you?
Because it had been concealed all this while. But come, shall we to boat? We are furnished for attendance, as ladies are. We have our fools and our ushers.
I thank you, madam. I shall meet your wit in the close one day.
Sirrah, thou knowest my husband keeps a kennel of hounds.
Yes.
Doth thy husband love venery?
Venery?
Aye, hunting and venery are words of one signification.
Your two husbands and he have made a match to go find a hare about bushy causey.
They'll keep an excellent house until we come home again.
Oh, excellent. A Spanish dinner, a pilcher, and a Dutch supper, butter and onions.
Oh, thou art a mad wench.
Sergeant, carry the cell of cambric to Mistress Birdlime. Tell her but that it is a rough tide, and that she fears the water. She should have gone with us.
Oh, thou hast an excellent wit.
To boat, hey!
Sir Gosling, I do take it thy legs are married?
Why, mistress?
They look so thin upon it.
Ever since I measured with your husband, I have shrunk in the calf.
And yet you have a sweet tooth in your head.
Oh, well dealt for the calf's head. You may talk what you will of legs and rising in the small and swelling beneath the garter, but 'tis certain when lank thighs brought long stockings out of fashion, the courtier's leg and his slender tilting staff grew both of a bigness. Come, for Brainford.
And they exude, probably crying Westward Ho, or they would in my production if this is where we put the interval. Everyone's off. Westward Ho. Yes. Okay, so we had the scene at the beginning with Justiniano, of which featured some plot, but before the plot we had boy who runs on, says dialogue without real... I'm really not sure why the boy says any of those things except to prompt Justiniano to do his stand-up routine. And that really annoys me, because I'm sure you can make what the boy says make sense, and it sort of works, but it also just feels like random things. Why the goose and the pillow? Why does the boy say those things except you've got the answer to the question, you've now invented a question to put in front of that, and then eventually he gets back to, where's the person I'm looking for this scene? Could you tell me where they are? Because I've done my routine and the audience loved it. Simon, you were waving.
It just struck me, obviously, actor-director has just written the boys' interjections in just so the actor-director can have the great time and the great routine and the great material, clearly.
Yeah, it's just, Collier, how came the goose to be put upon you? Huh? I'm sure there's a gloss for what that means, but in the absence of almost any context, and where the pillory, again, we can make a game of that. It's like he just goes, Collier, nah, you're it. I'm just being rude to you for no readily apparent reason, so that you can say the next line. It's just, yeah. Alan.
I'm just wondering whether we got yet another somewhat incestuous dramatic reference. Where does this sit in time with Grim the Collier?
It is post Grim.
But
we've got colliers are a thing. They are. We've had lots of colliers, so it's riffing off the idea that colliers are inherently untrustworthy and are short selling their wares. I mean, he does come on say any small coal, so it's not as if there's anything decent in his sack. He's just selling the little naffy rubbish stuff at the bottom of the bag. Simon, then Lynn.
Thank you. Sorry, something Alan said there actually jogged my memory. I meant to bring it up, but when was this written again?
1604-ish.
1604. Okay, so we're a long way after. The mention of Fulham made me think of Fulham Palace, and I started thinking, now hang on, now he was born at Fulham Palace, because I thought that was the residence of the Cardinal Wolsey, but obviously that would have been a long way before.
Oh yeah.
And I was just wondering, I'm starting to wonder kind of really what they're actually unpacking, because of course fluff is never just fluff, as we discovered. There's satire. So it was the mention of Mort Lake, and I thought, well, Mort Lake used to live near there. That's near Richmond Palace, Fulham Palace, and I'm wondering what they're actually really going on about, because I just kept thinking about how horrible everyone is, and everyone's trying to enchant everyone. But obviously it's kind of too late for a succession, more or less. But yeah, it's intrigued me a little bit more that there's obviously much more meat to the on the bone than just the bone of the material. It's a terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because we're slightly scrabbling around, we may be leaping after hares that are not there, but we also may indeed be. Lynn, then Aliki, I think, and then we need to move on.
Oh, I'm just guessing the goose is a tailor's pressing iron. kind of shaped like a goose because the body of the iron and then a little chimney to let the smoke out. It had coal in it to keep it hot. So maybe that's the goose.
I kind of thought a Winchester goose was a prostitute, and there was what I thought was a sex gag in there. And
it could be both, but yes, the Winchester goose is a sex professional because the cardinal or the bishop basically ran brothel houses in one of his districts. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yes, and we do, and Justiniano does go very much down that route with his speech. So yeah, maybe there's an element there. It's quite difficult to get across. And then of course we go back to we're all going on our exciting adventure westward, and all of those things are sort of pulled together, and Monopoly reacquainted with Moll, and all of those sort of intersecting things. Did I go to F1? I did, didn't I? Okay, let's dive into Act 4 then. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Mistress Birdlime and Lucy.
Good morrow, Mistress Lucy. How did you take your rest tonight? How doth your good worship like your lodging? What will you have to breakfast?
Pox of the knight that was here last night. He promised to have sent me some wild fowl. He was drunk. I'll be stewed else.
Why? Do not you think he will send them?
Hang them. There's no more in fashion for them to keep their promises than 'tis for men to pay their debts. He will lie faster than a dog trots. What a filthy knocking was at door last night. Some puny Inn of Court man, I'll hold my contribution.
Yes, in troth were they. Civil gentlemen without beards. But to say the truth, I did take exception at their knocking, took them aside and said to them, Gentlemen, this is not well that you should come in this habit. Cloaks and rapiers, boots and spurs, I protest to you. Those that be your ancients in the house would have come to my house in their cap and gowns, civilly and modestly. I promise you, they might have been taken for citizens, but that they talk more like fools. Who knocks there? Up into your chamber.
Exit Lucy. Enter Master Honeysuckle.
Who are you? Some man of credit that you come in muffled thus?
Who's above?
Let me see your face first. Master Honeysuckle! Why, the old party, the old party!
Oh, phew, I will not go up to her. Nobody else?
As I live. Will you give me some sack? Where's opportunity?
Enter Christian.
What dost call her?
Her name is Christian, but Mistress Lucy cannot abide that name, and so she calls her opportunity.
Very good, good.
Gives money.
Mr. Shilling, bring the rest in aqua vitae.
Exit Christian.
Come, shall's go to Noddy.
I and thou wilt for half an hour.
Here are the cards. Deal. God send me deuces and aces with a court card, and I shall get by it.
That can make thee nothing.
Yes, if I have a coat card turn up.
I show 4 games.
Oh, by my troth, I must show all, and little enough too. 6 games. Play your single game. I shall double with you anon. Pray you, lend me some silver to count my games.
Enter Christian.
How now? Is it good sack?
There's a gentleman at door would speak with you.
God, so I will not be seen by any means.
Into that closet, then.
Exit Honeysuckle.
What, another muffler?
Enter Tenterhook.
Ask me, how dost thou, Mistress Birdlime?
Master Tenterhook. The party is above in the dining chamber.
Above?
All alone.
Exit Tenterhook. Enter Honeysuckle.
Is he gone up? Who was it, I pray thee?
By this sack I will not tell you. Say that you are a country gentleman, or a citizen that hath a young wife, or an inn of chancery man. Should I tell you? Oh, pardon me. Oh, this sack tastes of horse flesh. I warrant you the leg of a dead horse hangs in the butt of sack to keep it quick.
I beseech thee, good Mistress Birdline, tell me who it was.
God, sir, we are sworn to secrecy as well as surgeons. Come, drink to me, and let's to our game.
Enter Tenterhook and Lucy above.
Who am I?
You? Pray you unblind me. Captain Whirlpool? No. Master Linstock? Pray unblind me. You are not Sir Gosling Glowworm, for he wears no rings of his fingers. Master Freezeleather? Oh, you're George, the drawer at the mitre. Pray you unblind me. Captain Puckfoist? Master Counterpane, the lawyer? What the devil mean you? Beshrew your heart, you have a very dry hand. Are you not mine host Dogbolt of Brainford? Mistress Birdlime? Master Honeysuckle? Master Wafer?
What, the last of all your clients?
Oh, how dost thou, good cousin?
Aye, you have many cousins.
Faith, I can name many that I do not know. And suppose I did know them, what then? I will suffer one to keep me in diet, another in apparel, another in physic, another to pay my house rent. I am just of the nature of alchemy. I will suffer every plodding fool to spend money upon me. Marry, none but some worthy friend to enjoy my more retired and useful faithfulness.
Your love, your love.
Oh, aye, 'tis the curse that is laid upon our quality. What we glean from others, we lavish upon some trothless, well-faced younger brother that loves us only for maintenance.
Hast a good term, Lucy?
Ah, pox on the term. And now I think on, says a gentleman last night, let the pox be in the town 7 year, Westminster never breeds cobwebs, and yet 'tis as catching as the plague, though not all so general. There be 1,000 bragging jacks in London that will protest they can wrest comfort from me, where I swear not one of them knows whether my palm be moist or not. Troth, I love thee. You promised me 7 ells of cambric.
Wafer knocks and enters.
Who's that knocks?
What? More sacks to the mill. I'll to my old retirement.
Exit Honeysuckle.
How doth your good worship? Oh, passion of my heart, what shift shall I make? How hath your good worship done a long time?
Very well, God a mercy.
Your good worship, I think, be riding out of town?
Yes, believe me, I love to be once a week on horseback. But methinks nothing sets a man out better than a horse.
'Tis certain nothing sets a woman out better than a man.
What, is Mistress Lucy above?
Yes, truly.
Not any company with her?
Company! Shall I say to your good worship and not lie? She hath had no company. Let me see, how long was it since your worship was here? You went to a butcher's feast at Cuckold's Haven the next day after St. Luke's Day. Not this fortnight, in good truth.
Alas, good soul.
And why was it? Go to, I think you know better than I. The wench asketh every day, when will Master Wafer be here? And if knights ask for her, she cries out at stairhead, as you love my life, let 'em not come up. I'll do myself violence if they enter. Have not you promised her somewhat?
Faith, I think she loves me.
Loves? Well, would you knew what I know, then you would say somewhat. In good faith, she's very poor. All her gowns are at pawn. She owes me £5 for her diet, besides 40 shillings I lent her to redeem 2 half-silk kirtles from the brokers. And do you think she needed be in debt thus, if she thought not of somebody?
Good honest wench.
Nay, in troth, she is now entering into bond for £5 more. The scrivener is but new gone up to take her bond.
Come, let her not enter into bond. I'll lend her £5. I'll pay the rest of her debts. Call down the scrivener.
I pray you, when he comes down, stand muffled, and I'll tell him you are her brother.
If a man have a good honest wench that lives wholly to his use, let him not see her want.
Exit Birdlime and enter above.
Oh, Mistress Lucy! Mistress Lucy! You are the most unfortunate gentlewoman that ever breathed. Your young, wild brother came newly out of the country. He calls me bored, swears I keep a boarding house, says his sister is turned whore, and that he will kill and slay any man that he finds in her company.
What conveyance will you make with me, Mistress Birdlime?
Oh, God, let him not come up. 'Tis the swaggerigst wild oats.
I have pacified him somewhat, for I told him that you were a scrivener come to take bond of her. Now, as you go forth, as you go forth, say, well, she might have had so much money if she had pleased, and say she is an honest gentlewoman, and all will be well.
Enough. Farewell, good Lucy.
Come, change your voice and muffle you.
Exeunt above Birdlime and Tenterhook.
Frick should this be? I have never a brother. I'll hold my life some franker customer is come that she slides him off so smoothly.
Enter above Tenterhook and Birdlime.
The gentlewoman is an honest gentlewoman as any is in London, and should have had thrice as much money upon her single bond for the good report I hear of her.
No, sir. Her friends can furnish her with money.
By this light, I should know that voice. Wafer? Odds foot! Are you the gentlewoman's brother?
Are you turned a scrivener, Tenterhook?
Oh, I am spoiled.
Tricks of Mistress Birdlime by this light.
Hoyt covert, Hoyt covert. Why, gentlemen, is this your hunting?
What make you here, Honeysuckle?
Nay, what make you two here? Excellent Mistress Birdlime, thou hast had more tricks in thee than a punk hath uncles, cousins, brothers, sons, or fathers, in infinite company.
If I did it not to make your good worships merry, ne'er believe me. I will drink to your worship a glass of sack.
Enter Justiniano.
God save you.
Master
Master
Justiniano, welcome stowed.
Why, gentlemen, I never came there.
Never there? Where have you been, then?
Marry your daily guest. I thank you.
Ours?
Aye, yours. I was the pedant that learned your wives to write. I was the collier that brought you news your child was sick. But the truth is, for aught I know, the child is in health and your wives are gone to make merry at Brainford.
By my troth, good wenches, they little dream where we are now.
You little dream what gallants are with them.
Gallants with them. I'd laugh at that.
Poor gallants by this light. Master Monopoly is one of them.
Monopoly. I'd laugh at that in faith.
Would you laugh at that? Why do you laugh at it then? They are there by this time. I cannot stay to give you more particular intelligence. I have received a letter from my wife here. If you will call me at Putney, I'll bear you company.
Odds foot, what a rogue is Sergeant Ambush. I'll undo him by this light.
I met Sergeant Ambush and willed him come to this house to you presently. So, gentlemen, I leave you. Bored, I have nothing to say to you now. Do not think too much in so dangerous a matter, for in women's matters 'tis more dangerous to stand long deliberating than before a battle.
Exit Justiniano.
This fellow's poverty have made him an arrant knave.
Will your worship drink any aquavitae?
Pox on your aquavitae. Monopoly, that my wife urged me to arrest, gone to Brainford.
Enter Ambush.
Here comes the varlet.
I'm come, sir, to know your pleasure.
What, hath Monopoly paid the money yet?
No, sir, but he sent for money.
You have not carried him to the counter? He's at your house still?
Lord, I, sir, and as melancholy as a jib cap.
You lie like an arrant varlet, but by this candle, I laugh at the jest.
And yet he's ready to cry.
He's gone with my wife to Brainford. If there be any law in England, I'll tickle ye for this.
Do your worst, for I have good security, and I care not. Besides, it was his cousin, your wife's, pleasure that he should go along with her.
Oh, yea, her cousin. Well, sir, your security?
Why, sir, 2 diamonds here.
My heart, my wife's 2 diamonds. Well, you'll go along and justify this?
Oh, that I will, sir.
Enter Lucy.
Who am I?
What the living there, I who you are? Hold off your fingers or I'll tap them with this diamond.
I'll see him, faith. So, I'll keep these diamonds till I have my silk gown and 6 ells of cambric.
Why, this like you shall not.
No? What, you think you have fops in hand? Sue me for them.
No due respect to credit.
Credit,
Let's
let's
go.
go.
Good, Lucy, you love me, let me have them. It stands upon my credit. Thou should have anything, take my purse.
I will not be crossed in my humor, sir.
Oh, you are a damned and filthy punk. What about fortunate rogue was I, that ever I came into this house?
Oh, do not spurn anybody in my house, you were best.
Well.
Exeunt the 3 citizens.
Excellent, Lucy. The getting of these 2 diamonds may chance to save the gentlewoman's credit. Thou heardest all.
Oh, aye, and by my troth pity them. What a filthy knave was that betrayed them.
Oh, one that put me into a pitiful fear. Master Justiniano, here hath laid lurking like a sheep biter, and in my knowledge hath drawn these gentlewomen to this misfortune. But I'll down to Queenhithe, and the waterman which will want to carry you to Lambeth Marsh shall carry me thither. It may be I come before them. I think I shall pray more, what with the fear of the water, and for my good success, than I did this 12 months.
Exeunt Birdlime and Lucy, and there will pause. It's a long scene, lots going on. And it's an interesting question that we've got all of these various people. I mean, nobody seems to really be that interested in the sanctity of marriage in this play. I mean, pretty much everybody is attempting to visit somebody else, and you know, we have this references to Cuckoldhaven and things, and we have this whole thing of all of the chaps turning up to try and hire the same sex worker at the same time. I mean, and then Justiniano turns up and just goes ta-da, and springs this. Oh, your wives they've all gone off to Brainford, because it's all going on in Brainford. We know Brainford of old. We do. You can't trust what goes on there. What happens in Brainford stays in Brainford. Thoughts from the room. A lot of stuff went down here. I'll go to Lois, then Lynn, then Aliki.
Yeah, well, I just wondered if everybody got it, that when one of these guys, Wafer, comes in and puts his hands over Lucy's eyes and says, "Who am I?" And then she goes, and he's presumably been thinking she was his own personal private sex worker. And then she goes through this huge list of people it could possibly be.
Characters in the play, and also some really rather Captain Puckfoist I particularly liked. That's a name I really want to use somewhere in something else.
Well done for having the courage to say that out loud very quickly.
But yeah, he's the last on the list. Bless. Lynn.
Yeah, the structure of this is really interesting because typically you don't get the disguise reveal till quite near the end, and we have a little bit of Act 4 and an entire act after that to go. So Justiniano has revealed himself quite early. Maybe that's because like this play is almost done. The play of the 3 husbands and their wives is almost resolved, but the play of Justiniano himself and his false suspicion of his wife, I'm hoping false suspicion of his wife, is what the 5th act is about. But structurally it's unusual, so that's kind of cool. And I was thinking yesterday and then the early part of today, the bravura part here is Justiniano, although that's a little unusual for a boys' company play. Was this originally a boys' company play? Yeah, I mean, usually it's a little more evenly, just more an ensemble because it's kids.
Birdlime is doing a lot of work in this as well.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. And Birdlime is really, she's got a finger in everybody's pie, too, so to speak. Yes, I didn't even mean to do that. But yeah, I mean, she's arranging for the women to cheat on their husbands. She's arranging for the husbands to cheat on their wives. And she's just and she's great. She's unflappable. She's just like, oh, it was just a gag. I did this to make you marry. And then they're off to catch their wives, and she's like, okay, I need to get in a boat and try to get there before them. So yeah, that's a really, really fun part as well. So yeah, just the structure of this is really, it's very busy.
Yes, in that sense, Birdlime, because Birdlime is just going, Justiniano is this agent of chaos. I do not like this. I like to be in control. I like to be spinning all my plates. And this guy's just come crashing through everything, and everything's falling down. Aliki, then Simon.
So I found that hugely gratifying. First of all, I really enjoyed all of the farce entrances and exits and upstairs and downstairs and so on. I was also really pleased to see all three husbands cheating or attempting to cheat, because I was starting to feel sorry for them. And Birdlime is reminding me a bit now of the wise woman of Hogston, although she did kind of marry everybody off in a suitable way in the end, whereas this one seems to be more of an agent of chaos. It also makes more sense of what Justiniano is doing. He's out to get her because she's been attempting to seduce his wife on behalf of the Earl. And suddenly I feel a little bit less like he's doing it just to be horrible. And that's nice.
That he's sort of just taking down the whole enterprise, which is interesting. I do love the way that Lucy just, Tenterhook said, "I'll cut you with these diamonds." Oh, the diamonds, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that moment. Simon, then Sarah.
I'm kind of wondering who's going to have the comeuppance at the end, if you know what I mean, because for me, if you read it surfacely, Birdlime, just because the name obviously would seem to be like liming the bush for the Justiniano bird, but if you think that Justiniano now is actually trying to, in a way, right wrongs, then that then suggests that maybe she's actually liming her own bush, if I can say that. It's
that kind of play, isn't it?
That kind of play. No, it's interesting. I actually I go so far as to say at this very early juncture, I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think we have been generally enjoying it. Sarah.
Yes, I don't know if I'm just being overly optimistic and Pollyanna-ish here, but Birdlime, it seems to me, she doesn't have to go off. She doesn't have to get in the boat and go to Queen Hive to warn the gentlewomen what's going on. And it also, I was also kind of quite struck as I was reading it that the first thing she says when she sees that Lucy's managed to snarf the diamonds is that she says, oh, the getting of these 2 diamonds may chance to save the gentlewomen's credit. And I'm like, this is not the perhaps response that I would expect to have from a character like her to, oh, we've got our hands on a couple of diamonds, So I'm wondering if there's more to her character than meets the eye.
So I'm just, I'll worry about the geography later, but I was just trying to figure out which boats are going in which direction and who's catching where and where do we start from. I'm not quite sure where we started from to be travelling in which directions, and so I'll worry about the geography another time. But I was just something I was just sort of going, oh, they're going to here, where are they going to get there? What's the most efficient route? Who's doing what when? Simon.
I was going to say, presumably they're heading down the Thames towards like Oxford kind of way. I assume, like Oxfordshire anyway, where it goes. But where, I don't know where where would be the most prescient place to be. It's an odd one.
Okay, well, we've got one more scene to do. We will go for that now. Act 4, Scene 2. Enter the Earl. The Earl never gets a name, I think. It's just the Earl. And 3 servingmen.
Am I the Earl? I'm the Earl. Okay. Have you perfumed this chamber?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord.
The banquet?
It stands ready.
Stands ready.
Go. Let music charm with her excellent voice and awful silence through all this building, that her sphery soul may, on the wings of air in thousand forms invisibly fly, yet be enjoyed. Away! Away.
Servant number 1.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Does my lord mean to conjure that he draws these strange characters?
He does, but we shall see neither the spirit that rises nor the circle it rises in.
'Twould make our hair stand up on end if we should. Come, fools, come, meddle not with his matters. Lords may do anything.
And exeunt servingman.
This night shall my desires be amply crowned, and all those powers that taste of man in us shall now aspire that point of happiness beyond which sensual eyes never look. Sweet pleasure, delicious pleasure, earth's supremest good, the spring of blood, though it dry up our blood, rob me of that. Though to be drunk with pleasure as rank excessum even in the best things is bad, turns man into a beast. Yet that being gone, a horse and this the goodliest shape, all one. We feed, wear rich attires, and strive to cleave the stars with marble towers, fight battles, spend our blood to buy us names, and in iron hold will we eat roots to imprison fugitive gold. But to do thus, what spell can us excite? This, the strongest magic of our appetite, to feast which richly life itself undoes. Who'd not die thus, to see and then to choose? Why, even those that starve involuntary wants, and to advance the mind keep the flesh poor, the world enjoying them, they not the world. Would they do this, but that they are proud to suck the sweetness from such sourness? Let 'em so. A torrent of my appetite shall flow with happier stream. A woman, oh, the spirit and extract of creation. This night the sun shall envy. What gold checks our blood? Her body is the chariot of my soul, her eyes my body's light, which, if I want, life wants, or if possess, I undo her, turn her into a devil, whom I adore by scorching her with the hot stream of lust. 'Tis but a minute's pleasure, and the sin scarce acted is repented. Shun it then. Oh, he that can abstain is more than man. Tush! Resolvest thou to do ill? Oh, be not precise. Who right of virtue best are slaves to vice.
Music.
The music sounds, alarum to my blood. What's bad I'll follow, yet I see what's good.
Whilst the song, we don't know what the song is heard, the Earl draws a curtain and sets forth a banquet. He then exits and enters presently with Justiniano, attired like his wife, masked, leads him to the table, places him in a chair, and in dumb signs courts him till the song be done.
Fair! Be not doubly masked with that and night. Beauty, like gold, being used, becomes more bright.
Will it please your lordship to sit? I shall receive small pleasure if I see your lordship stand.
Witch! Hag! What art thou, proud damnation?
A merchant's wife.
Fury! Who raised thee up? What comest thou for?
for a banquet.
I am abused, deluded. Speak, what art thou? Odds death, speak, or I'll kill thee. In that habit I look to find an angel, but thy face shows thou'rt a devil.
My face is as God made it, my lord. I am no devil, unless women be devils, but men find them not so, for they daily hunt for them.
What art thou that dost cozen me thus?
A merchant's wife, I say, Justiniano's wife, she whom that long birding piece of yours, I mean that wicked mother, Birdlime, caught for your honour. Why, my lord, has your lordship forgot how ye courted me last morning?
The devil I did.
Kissed me last morning?
Succubus, not thee.
Gave me this jewel last morning?
Not to thee, harpy.
To me, upon mine honesty, swore you would build me a lodging by the Thames side with a water gate to it, or else take me a lodging at Coal Harbour.
I swore so.
Oh, keep me in a labyrinth, as Harry kept Rosamond where the Minotaur my husband should not enter.
I swear so, but, gypsy, not to thee.
To me, upon my honour, hard was the siege which you laid to the crystal walls of my chastity, but I held out, you know. But because I cannot be too stony-hearted, I yielded, my lord, by this token, my lord, which token lies at my heart like lead. But this, by this token, my lord, that this night you should commit that sin which we all know with me.
Thee?
Do I look ugly, that you put thee upon me? Did I give you my hand to horn my head, that's to say my husband, and as it come to thee, is my face a filthier face now it is yours than when it was his, or have I two faces under one hood? I confess I have laid mine eyes in brine. That may change the copy, but my lord, I know what I am.
A sorceress! Thou shalt witch mine ears no more. If thou canst pray, do't quickly, for thou diest.
I can pray, but I will not die, thou liest, my lord. There drops your lady. And now know, thou unreasonable lecher, I am her husband, whom thou wouldst make more. Read. She speaks there thus.
And hands a letter to the Earl. Meanwhile, Mistress Justiniano is discovered lying as if dead.
Unless I came to her, her hand should free her chastity from blemish. Proud I was of her brave mind. I came, and seeing what slavery, poverty, and the frailty of her sex had and was like to make her subject to, I begged that she would die. My suit was granted. I poisoned her. Thy lust there strikes her dead. Horns feared, plague worse than sticking on the head.
God, thou hast undone thyself and me. None live to match this peace. Thou art too bloody. Yet for her sake, whom I'll embalm with tears, this act with her I'll bury. And to quit thy loss of such a jewel, thou shalt share my living with me. Come, embrace.
My lord.
Villain! Damned merciless slave! I'll torture thee to every inch of flesh. What ho! Help! Who's there?
Enter serving men.
Come hither! Here's a murderer! Bind him! How now? What noise is this?
My lord, there are 3 citizens face me down, that here's one master parenthesis, a schoolmaster, with your lordship, and desire he may be forthcoming to him.
That borrowed name is mine. Shift for yourselves. Away! Shift for yourselves! Fly! I am taken!
Why should they fly, thou screech owl?
I will tell thee. Those 3 are partners with me in the murder. We 4 can mix the poison. Shift for yourselves!
Stop his mouth and drag him back! Entreat him enter.
Enter the 3 citizens, Honeysuckle, Tenterhook, and Wafer.
Oh, what a conflict feel I in my blood. I would I were less great to be more good. You are welcome. Wherefore came you? Guard the doors. When I behold that object, all my senses revolt from reason. He that offers flight drops down a corse.
What?
Aye, of course. Do you scorn to be worm's meat more than she?
See, gentlemen, the Italian that does scorn. Beneath the moon, no baseness like the horn has poured through all the veins of yon chaste bosom strong poison to preserve it from that plague. This fleshly lord, he doted on my wife. He would have wrought on her and played on me, but to pare off these brims, I cut off her, and gulled him with this lie, that you had hands dipped in her blood with mine. But this I did, that his stained age and name might not be hid. My act, though viled, the world shall crown as just. I shall die clear when he lives soiled with lust. But come, rise, Moll, awake, sweet Moll. Thou'st played the woman rarely, counterfeited well.
Sure, she has 9 lives.
See, Lucrece is not slain. Her eyes, which lust-called suns, have their first beams, and all these frightments are but idle dreams. Yet, before Jove, she had her knife prepared to let her blood forth ere it should run black. Do not these open cuts now cool your buck? Methinks they should, when vice sees with broad eyes her ugly form, she doth herself despise.
Mirror of dames, I look upon thee now as men, long blind, having recovered sight amazed, scarce able are to endure the light. Mine own shame strikes me dumb. Henceforth, the book I'll read shall be thy mind, and not thy look.
I would either we were at Brainford to see our wives, or our wives here to see this pageant.
So would I. I stand upon thorns.
The jewels which I gave you where? Your fortunes I'll raise on golden pillars. Very well. Lost in old age, like burnt straw, does even choke the kindlers, and consumes in stinking smoke.
Exit Earl.
You may follow your lord by the smoke, badgers.
If fortune had favoured him, we might have followed you by the horns.
Fortune favours fools. Your lord's a wise lord.
Exeunt serving men.
So, how now? This is that makes me fat now. It's not ratsbane to you, gentlemen, as pap was to Nestor. But I know the invisible sins of your wives hang at your eyelids, and that makes you so heavy-headed.
If I do take him napping, I know what I'll do.
I'll nap some of them.
That villain Monopoly and that Sir Gosling, friends them all.
But I might come to that treading.
Aha, so would I. Come, Moll, the book of the Siege of Ostend, writ by one that dropped in the action, will never sell so well as a report of the siege between this grave, this wicked elder, and thyself. An impression of you two would away in a May morning. Was it ever heard that such tirings were brought away from a lord by any wench but thee, Moll, without paying, unless the wench coney cashed him? Go thy ways. If all the great Turks' concubines were but like thee, the tenpenny infidel should never need help so many geldings to neigh over him. Come, shall this western voyage hold, my lords, my hearts?
Yes.
Yes! Foot, you speak as if you had no hearts, and look as if you were going westward indeed, to see how plain-dealing women can pull down men. Moll, you'll help us to catch smelts too?
If you be pleased.
Never better since I wore a smock.
I fear our oars have given us the bag.
Good, I'd laugh at that.
If they have, would theirs might give them the bottle. Come, march whilst the women double their files. Married men, see, there's comfort. The moon's up. For Don Phoebus, I doubt we shall have a frost this night. Her horns are so sharp. Do you not feel it bite?
I do, I'm sure.
but will sit upon one another's skirts of the boat and lie close in straw like the hoary courtier. Set on to Brainford now, where if you meet frail wives, ne'er swear against horns, in vain Dame Nature strives.
And they exit, probably calling Westward Ho, to get to Brentford or Brainford. So you may follow your lord by the smoke badgers. I liked that. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Yeah, we have the entirely expected pretending to be his own wife for the Earl, and then the wife being brought on as dead, but not really dead. She gets up, she's alive, as we were all expecting. I mean, that was just so obviously signposted from early on. That was this play is so predictable in what it does. I've really enjoyed Act 4. It's really come to life with set pieces that are just quite nicely set up and play with things. We've got a song. It's a shame we don't know what the song is. That would be nice to know. Yeah, thoughts from the room on this scene, Lynn?
I was a tad disappointed that we didn't actually get to see the scene of the Earl wooing Justiniano in the form of Justiniano's wife that just gets described to us, because it's kind of hilarious. So instead we get that really long, why even the heck blank verse speech from the Earl. Like, what is that covering?
It might be covering setup for the scene itself. It might be quite busy to do. I really liked that speech. It's setting up anticipation, especially when it's completely undermined by going in a totally different direction that we're not expecting it to go in. It's doing something really, really interesting with that back and forth. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, the two big surprises, of course, are given away by the stage directions, but presumably for the audience, these really are surprises. I mean, they don't know that this is Justiniano disguised as his own wife, because I suppose with the mask on. And of course, this is a boy, so his voice would probably not be all that different from a woman's anyway.
And also physicality. It's slightly easier to make the boy who is playing the wife and the boy playing the husband to actually be physically about the same size. So once you've got all the costuming on and the mask, you might not actually be able to tell until the rips the mask off and he goes, "What the etc." Yeah.
And certainly we wouldn't know that the woman lying there apparently dead wasn't dead. Yeah.
I think we might suspect that one. I think the moment she's wheeled on. I mean, I know the stage direction again said lying as if dead, so we're sitting there going, "Oh, she's not really dead." But we've seen enough of these plays by now to know that odds on she's not dead. Because if he was going to kill her, we would have seen that surely. Yeah. Simon.
Yeah, I have to say I was somewhat confused even reading it, because it went to so many different places, and then like black marks. I was like, what? So hang on. So he got her to slit her wrists, and then that's why he's saying, "Oh, it can't be me. I poisoned her anyway." But so I was as surprised as anyone when she got up. It's like, okay, so she didn't kill herself. So I know nothing anymore. Mental.
Yeah, and still, I say they've all got to go to Brainford, and that's quite a journey actually. I'm not quite sure precisely where the Earl's house is. But it's by boat, so they can get there relatively swiftly. But it's I'm now starting to. I want to nail down some of this geography, and I'm and the speed at which he's got there to set this up, and how does he set it up? Has he bribed some of the servants? How did he what is the logistics of Justiniano? Because he does seem to be doing a lot of stuff by magic, frankly.
If Brainford is actually, like you said, Brentford, then that's no distance at all. You could actually walk quicker than you could probably get money. So that actually does make no sense whatsoever.
Well, no, in relative terms, in terms of the other distances that we've been doing, it is a reason. It is a distance as opposed to the other stuff, which isn't. Where you just walk down the street for those. I was Google Mapsing this, so it is a boat journey. It's not just around the corner. but it depends where the Earl's house is. I don't know if we've actually had a. None of this matters, so I'm going to stop. It only matters to me.
Matters to me. I used to do that walk.
Yeah. But it is one of those things that it's some of the little details in this play do not quite necessarily join up. But I think if the play is moving fast enough, you don't really care, and I think in performance you don't really care, and that's all that matters. But of course, if anyone else wants to talk about distance and traveling, then feel free to do so. Any more on act? We haven't talked about actually the structure of this play, because each act is a nicely self-contained unit. It has a payload that it delivers, and that's something where an indoor boys' company, the structure sometimes is more important than a playhouse company where everything just runs straight through. Whereas here, there is a sense that each act is delivering something. And Act 4 definitely I felt delivered in a way that Act 3 slightly less so. There was a structure to Act 3, but this Act 4 is doing a lot of stuff. And now we're sort of waiting for the final act to do whatever it's going to do. Lynn.
Yeah, the tricky part is you have so much sense of closure in this act, and you have a whole act to go, and your audience is not expecting that kind of shape in this in these days. So keeping your audience on board and engaged when, like, basically the storyline that they're most invested in, arguably, has been resolved. That's a challenge.
I'm not so sure. I mean, there's still a lot to go, because they've ended the act with "to Brainford," Brainford Ho, and I don't know that we've fully actually finished with these plot lines as well, because I don't think we've had any meaningful reconciliation or discussion between Justiniano and his wife, who is now called Moll, by the way. So the reason why yesterday I kept saying this person's called Moll but is probably called Claire is because the script is not consistent in people's names. Lois.
Yeah, I just wonder whether Dekker and Webster, when they had their planning meeting, debated whether to reverse the order of these two acts. I mean, the Justiniano plot is so weird, and this scene is so full of surprises. It's hard to see where the one about the husbands going to Brentford to see what their wives are up to can possibly match it.
Yeah, my concern is that the last act is going to feel anticlimactic.
Well, that's what the final session's that's what it's for, is for everyone to sit there feeling slightly disappointed. And if it is anticlimactic, well, we can see if there's any bits we can just shuffle around and then close it with all in this location. We've already talked about we probably need to cut a few thousand words out of this just to get it down to a longish play. It's a little over length, so we do need to find stuff to cut. Actually, I have to say, this session there hasn't been much that I've naturally been going, oh, we can remove that bit, we could remove that. There are a few little bits and pieces, but actually a lot of this is quite pertinent in ways that, whereas yesterday we had a lot of stuff that didn't really matter. Yes, we did have the collier scene, didn't we? But I don't think anyone really cares about colliers today. We don't have the same sort of stuff about it. But otherwise, I'm not so sure that there's been that much which popped out. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's plenty of salami cuts to make there. But Alan.
Yeah, I think another bit which we're candidate for potential trimming is the comedy Dutchman, which I think was done simply because they got someone in the company who could do a silly accent.
He doesn't really say anything.
And a pop at foreigners is always good box office.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really substantive enough to notice that he's there even when he's on. Lois.
No, it's not really attacking the guy, though. I mean, I think this is really the one of the sort of Jacobean touches. There are an awful lot more foreigners in London now because we now have a Scottish king with a Danish queen, and lots of foreigners who came to London for the coronation, and just a generally increasing cosmopolitanization of the city, and the idea that it would be fun to go somewhere and eat a Dutch bun. it's sort of like, ages ago when there were very few foreign restaurants in London, you would hear about, oh, wow, there's a new Persian restaurant. Let's all go and try it. I think it's sort of like that.
Mm. Yeah, and in terms of cutting, I mean, the Lynn was suggesting in the chat, cutting the Earl's big speech. I think it's important that actually slows the scene down, and I think that's actually deliberate and a good thing, because it's setting up the atmosphere to be broken by the reveal of Justiniano as well. I think that's important. That's not to say some of it can't go, but. Sarah seemed to really enjoy it, so I think whoever's the actors playing the Earl might fight you on that one. I mean, that's not to say directors aren't.
You cut the script before you let the actors see it. Come on.
Oh, there's this thing called the internet now. They'll find it. Even if they can't find an edition, I haven't really haven't had a hunt. I'm not sure how many Westwards there are. Anyway, right, we're approaching final thoughts. Final thoughts from around the room. Those who've been here for today, those who've been here throughout. Definitely enjoying it more today. I definitely feel that it feels more complete than it did yesterday. There were a lot more questions about what's going on. That sort of faded now as certain logics crept in. And yeah, there's a greater sense of what this play is doing. And yeah, thoughts from the final thoughts from the room. I'll go to someone who wasn't here yesterday. Simon, how have you found what of the play you have seen?
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, mostly because of trying to work out what the hell was going on as it's happening. But I kind of like the little motif that almost everyone is pretty damn unpleasant. So yeah, no, I'm intrigued actually. I'll go back and read the beginning and then go forward and read the end when I have some time tomorrow.
Aliki, you were here the other day. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it as well. I don't know if I'm finding it a little less dense this time, or if it's just that a lot of the setup of yesterday is coming home to roost, and that's enjoyable.
Yes, the pacing is very different, isn't it? And yeah, the relative density of the dialogue is less. It's still quite chunky though. But it is less. Lynn, final thoughts?
Yeah, so yesterday I said I wasn't optimistic that Justiniano and his wife would reconcile and that their relationship would be healed. And here it's happened. So, I kind of feel good about that. She's a decent person. He's kind of learned his lesson. I find that gratifying. But still, it's kind of hard for me to get a sense of the overall, like how I'm supposed to engage with this. Because some of it is so silly and so funny, Justiniano and the man of 1,000 faces and all his disguises, and Birdlime is hilarious. I don't know, I just think she's so funny. So some of it's really, really silly and really goofy, but some of it is pretty high stakes. Evidently, Moll Justiniano somehow slips a letter to her husband that says the Earl has basically imprisoned me in his home, and if you don't figure out a way to get me out of this, I'm going to kill myself. I'm not going to live with that. Help me. And he gets his cleverness on board, and he figures out a way to rescue her, but which is good, which is satisfying, which is kind of what an audience would want. But that's a kind of different tone, a different set of stakes than some of the other plot lines. So again, how do we keep the seams from showing? Is a question I think that a modern production will have to grapple with.
Are Justiniano and his wife actually reconciled yet? Because they haven't really spoken to each other. So it's interesting. That is some job of work I think the play needs to do in the final session. And we'll see what we get out of that. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, that pretty much was my final thought. I want to see the scene where those two meet. Yeah, I feel a bit cheated that I didn't get to see him explaining to her that, yeah, actually, maybe I was just being a bit jealous, and maybe everything you said was true. And yeah, I feel there would have been much comedy potential in that scene. And kind of sad that I didn't get it. Otherwise, I'm really enjoying it. I was a little bit unsure yesterday. Bits of it I really enjoyed, and then some bits I was like, what's going on? But today it's settled down and it's really pacey, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the final act. Usual caveats aside about final sessions, but yeah, I'm hoping this one's going to come good, actually.
Okay. Carolyn, you weren't here the other day. Any final thoughts? By all means, talk about transport.
Well, first thing I was going to say was some excellent readings today, so I really enjoyed that. And the second thing was, one of the things, I'm not, I don't think, as into this story as some of you are, but I am enjoying the slice of life stuff. Accounts, colliers, river transport. I'm really interested in that kind of thing. So I enjoyed seeing the real life, quote unquote, real life parts of the story, the logistics parts.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why these kinds of plays are very much the kind of thing that ends up being studied, is because they do give you so much of a sense of what living at the time was like. Very practical things like where you're going to go and drink, where how do you get there, what do you do when you're there, what strange little quirks pop up, and yeah, there's so much of that in here, even if in introduction we might cut quite a lot of them.
I could have used a couple of these scenes in fact, I may very well use a couple of these scenes in some of the work that I do, on economics and on engineering and transport. So that's actually, now that I think about this, I'm going to thank, she's already gone. Oh, no, you're there. Thank Aliki for that, because this could actually benefit some of the work that I'm doing out with theater and humanities.
Yeah, and there's more of this to come. There's we're very much in peak. This kind of play is coming here, so there's going to be a lot more of that coming in, which is a problem for us as practitioners, in the sense of producing something that someone today will understand. Sometimes there's too much detail, but that doesn't mean we can't do something with it. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly had more traces of a plot happening today than yesterday's session, which was very extended setup. I still cannot quite work out the logistics of this final scene that we've done, because we've got the Justiniano coming in disguise. We've then got this letter which appears out of nowhere, and then Mistress Justiniano discovered lying as if dead. And I just don't see how one can come up with any sort of probable, rational way that could happen, other than it's Deus Ex Machina.
Bribery, gold, got lots of gold. He bribed the servants.
But
he's got to have bribed them. I know it's not in the text, but you can lampshade that.
But it needs some sort of rationale. The other thing that I noticed earlier on, we had a second reference. We had one in yesterday's session to a Norfolk tumbler, and we had another one today. And that was obviously a thing which had some current relevance. What it was, I don't know, but there's an awful lot of stuff that we picked up along the way, which does seem to be referential to other theatrical stuff that have been around at this time or in the previous couple of decades. And there's almost a bit of navel gazing going on with it, of mesa theatre.
Lois, any final thoughts?
I think the Norfolk tumbler might be Will Kemp. Wasn't that his dancing to Norwich?
But he wasn't a tumbler. I think tumbler is quite specific.
Well, it could be somebody else, but it seemed kind of fit with, the popularity of the 9 Days Wonder. But yeah, I like the play a lot, but it is a weird combination of sort of French farce. There actually is this thing, oh dear, look, someone's coming, hide me in the closet, and I thought this could go on and on. And on the one hand, and then the sort of Gothic stuff that suddenly comes in with Justiniano, here, I'm not my wife, I'm her husband, and I've murdered her, and there she is, and and oh no, surprise, she's alive. I mean, it's an absolutely wacky scene. I think it's wonderful, and it does make me wonder whether we're meant to think. I mean, there might be enough hints to think that Justiniano and his wife set this all up some time ago. I mean, even when she's having her big scene with the Lord, which we read yesterday, and he makes several lavish proposals to her, and I think she answers each one with "I'll think about it." And perhaps that's the point at which she actually writes to him, because he says she's written to him. And it may not be so much "I'm prisoner," because after all, she said in her opening scene that she was planning to leave her husband, and she presumably leaves him to go straight to the Lord. So that's been her choice. But then I don't know. I mean, I think this may just be the result of dual authorship, that they either never quite worked out how this happened, whether Justiniano and his wife were even putting on some kind of act early on in the play and had always been planning to do this, or whether they get the idea later, or just what happens.
Yes, and what's the mechanics of the letter getting to him, and all of those details that the play isn't actually that very interested in. But yeah, it does definitely feel that maybe they got their wires crossed occasionally, and I'd say it just needed a script editor. But sadly, that won't be invented for a good 300 years. Well, that's it for this session. We have one more session to go on Westward Ho, where we're going to find out how Act 5 functions, and see what we might want to do with it after that. All that remains, however, at this stage is thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Bun, 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 bun.